Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang channel. Brought to you by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So yes, welcome to another episode of the Dispatch. Tonight is Wednesday, February 1st, 2023. This is live stream 882. If this is your first time hanging out, let me point out, super casual around here. We are certainly not engaged in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just hanging around talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news and taking a first look at a tabletop game. And tonight, we are going to be diving on in to take a peek at Fantasy Hero Complete from the fine folks over at Hero Games. Yes, they were kind enough to send along this fantasy role-playing game. Of course, if you're not overly familiar with Hero Games, they are the folks behind Champions, one of the venerable superhero role-playing games that have been around for quite a long time. So that's what we'll be taking a peek at tonight. But do want to let you know, if you're not familiar with this show, we tackled the tabletop gaming news first. So we will be diving on into Fantasy Hero Complete in probably 35, 40 minutes or so. So if you're watching live, kick up your feet, relax, take a load off, enjoy yourself. It's hump day. You're halfway to the weekend, so take a nice deep breath, relax, enjoy. But if you happen to tune in 30 minutes or more after this stream ends, there will be timestamps. So if you are impatient and just got to get to that first look, because you're intense that way, you'll be able to do that. The timestamps are located in the show notes, or depending on the device you happen to be watching this on, might be right there in the timeline, right in front of your nose on screen. You never know. Don't know. You have to find out. Could be watching on a device that just touch that and jump ahead. You might be using a device that you got to use your mouse to click on it. It's completely up to you. Anyway, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here at the Gaming Gang channel YouTube. Gaming Gang channel YouTube. Gaming Gang YouTube channel. Wow, that came out like so wonky. Of course, you'll find plenty of tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel over at thegaminggang.com. And of course, this is a live stream. So that means there is chat available. It's not on screen, or the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before taking part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question or a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was 245 Trioxin. We've got Christopher Rush, Stray Kismet, Roger Pudom, Tessie, Trekkie, Bruno Azevedo. It's been a while since we've seen Bruno in chat. Kevin R. Smith, Kathy Evans. And I think I have said hello to everybody. I think that's everybody so far in chat. Nice. Bruno says I got distracted playing Dwarf Fortress, but they managed to stay up for the show. Very nice. Very cool. So Tessie Trekkie says, which title for a convention game is more attention grabbing? The Muppets Take Innsmouth or My Little Warhammer Friendship is Heresy? I will say I like the second one. So Kevin says yes, he likes the second one as well. So yes, although the Muppets Take Innsmouth, that's pretty good too. It's pretty good too. Bruno says it is 2 a.m. in Sweden where they are watching. Says it's hard to catch the show live. Yes, completely understand that. Most people tend to catch the show on Memorex. They don't watch it live. Just how it happens to be. All right, let's jump on into the news because I've got a nice eclectic mix tonight. Hitting stores later this month is Shadowgate, the Living Castle. And here's the latest from Trick or Treat Studios. I got to admit, Trick or Treat Studios started off where all they were producing were like little horror games. Kind of like I like to call them wind up or wind down games. I do not like the term filler games because filler is shit. Filler goes in ground beef to stretch it out. Filler's like sawdust, right? So I don't like the term filler game. But you know what? They've actually been rolling out some bigger kind of games and RPG stuff too. So let's dive in, talk about Shadowgate, the Living Castle. 5 to find, 3 are won. 1 gives access, the Bladed Sun. The Silver Orb to banish below. The Staff of Ages to vanquish the foe. Joining 2, the Golden Thorn, the last to invoke, the Platinum Horn. You have heard this prophecy many times. No, not really. It's the first time you ever heard it. One regarding the chosen hero that will save the Westland from a great and rising darkness. Those days are now before you. For Telemar the Starless, the Warlock Lord, is once again moving in this world. He has descended far below Castle Shadowgate, ready to release a creature of immense power upon the world and bring it into chaos. Shadowgate the Living Castle is a 2 to 4 player board game based on the MacVenture Kemco NES and 2014 remake video game Shadowgate. In it, you'll explore Shadowgate the Living Castle, discovering relics and spells and completing legendary quests. Players can choose between 8 characters that have their own unique class, traits, and abilities, then use these characters to compete for experience points. For each item you equip, each quest you complete, each Jin riddle you answer, and each monster you defeat, you gain XP. Compete against other players to piece together the fabled Staff of Ages. It is only then will you be able to confront the Warlock Lord, fulfill the prophecy, and be crowned High Lord of the Westland. Shadowgate the Living Castle is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in around 60 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $59.95 when it arrives on February 22nd. I have to say, I don't remember this game. Well, but then again, I really didn't play NES stuff. So that probably has a lot to do with it. Stray Kismet says, Shadowgate, the DOS game that kept killing me. So it's like, oh, it was NES. Yes. That bully? Yes, that bully is back. Grind your nose in it. Kind of cool, though. Kind of cool. This is kind of like inspired by that video game. In fact, the creators of that video game are actually affiliated with this game. So keep that in mind as well. So it is Wednesday. We're not looking at a war game today. So it's not a War Game Wednesday, but how about some war game news? Because new to the GMT Games P500 list is Seljuk, Byzantium besieged. Byzantium. What am I thinking? I knew I was going to mess it up. I know how to pronounce that word, and then it just jumps out. I'm like, Seljuk by Byzantium besieged. 1068 to 1071. Yes, once again, making sure that my graft of English is just a mess. Anyway, here's the scoop. Get ready. More mispronunciations on its way. Anatolia, 1068. Romanos Diogenes. Wait a second. Why are we getting the 25th century games? What the hell's going on with this lately? It's like the last image on these news pieces are messed up in this program. It's like, what is the problem? Let's just dump that. There we go. Anatolia, 1068. Romanos Diogenes has assumed the imperial throne of Eastern Roman Empire. Ferocious armies of Seljuk Turks are on the doorstep, ravaging the border cities of the East and sending yearly raids and campaigns into Roman lands. Beset by political intrigue in Constantinople, hey, I pronounced that one correct, and assuming command of a fragile military, Romanos has only a short time to assemble the largest Roman army in over a century to drive off the forces of the Sultan Alp Arslan before the empire collapses. Seljuk, Volume 6 in Volko Runke's Levy and Campaign series, brings players into the challenges of medieval logistics and maneuver across Asia Minor during the clash between Orthodox Christian and Muslim power in the lead up to the climactic Battle of Manskirt. Players will assume the role of either the Eastern Romans or Seljuk Turks as they seek to make their mark on this historic land. Asymmetric victory objectives and new and unique additions to the levy and campaign system mean a dynamic game of cat and mouse between these two great powers. The Seljuks are on the offensive with vast numbers of Turkic horse, speedy mounted units, adept at ranged combat with composite bows. A loose alliance of local vassal states loyal to the Sultan's cause, and steppe tribes from Central Asia unite under one banner to ravage the Roman state and carry off bounties of loot back to their homelands. The Romans field a much more heavily armored contingent of infantry and a mounted tagmata, but their frontier garrisons, the thamata, are few and not easily replaced. The Romans will have to use these stationary units judiciously to either defend against Seljuk ravaging or protect the walled towns and cities of the empire from Turkic siege. And both sides have to confront the very real possibility that some of their allied lords might switch sides. Can one final epic clash make the Seljuks think twice about conquering Anatolia? Or can the Muslim armies of the East win one of their greatest victories and capture the emperor of the Romans on the field of battle? Seljuk is for 1 or 2 players, ages 14 and up, and right now can be reserved for $69. It's going to carry an eventual MSRP of $98. Yeah, nice. Very, very nice. So I got to admit, we're seeing a lot of really unique conflicts making their way to the P500 recently. Plus, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it seems to me that we've seen more and more games with kind of the Crusades and Christians versus Muslims, than we have seen in the past. So, and of course, the Muslim forces, it seems to me at least, are treated respectfully as well. So, kind of interesting. Love the map. The map looks very, very cool. I will certainly say that. So, no word on exactly when this will be sent to the printer. Of course, it's P500. It's got to get at least 500 orders. Sometimes the cutoff is a little higher than that. Not as high as it once was for GMT. They have lowered it a little bit because it used to be like it's P500, but you had to have about 750, maybe even 800 orders before they'd go forward. Now it's about 500, 5 to 6. So pretty interesting. Once again, that is Seljuk. Let's talk about some role-playing game news because slated for a July release from Paizo Inc. is Starfinder Scoured Stars. Here's the skinny. A complete Starfinder campaign debuts in hardcover. With most of these Starfinder Society's agents trapped behind an impenetrable force field, it's up to a new generation of heroes to step forward and uncover the mystery of this interstellar prison, the mystery of the Scoured Stars. Unravel the threat of the merciless alien Jinsels while rebuilding an interplanetary adventuring guild and dealing with the emerging threat of a slumbering god, all in a day's work for a Starfinder. This expansive 256-page hardcover campaign weaves together 12 popular scenarios from Paizo's enormous Starfinder Society organized play campaign, remastering and optimizing them for at-home play in the form of an exciting, cosmos-spanning complete campaign from levels 1 to 15. The perfect introduction to the Starfinder role-playing game and Starfinder's biggest adventure to date. The 256-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $54.99, and it is slated to arrive in July. Nice. I always like to see more content for Starfinder and Pathfinder outside of only the adventure paths. So I happen to have, because of the fine folks at Paizo Inc., subscriptions to both Pathfinder and Starfinder Society. Although I got to be honest, I really don't look at the releases that heavy. So come on, I got enough stuff I gotta cover. It's like, oh, I had to start doing the society adventures. I'd be like, oh no. But I mean, they're organized play. They're normally, a single session. Each of the releases, I believe, are usually enough gaming for, 3-4 hours. But this is going to take some of those adventures from I think it was the first year. I think it was the first year of the Starfinder Society and combine those into a single adventure. And it is not just the organized play releases all just piled together. This is actually compiled and it is also remastered. So there is that. That is on the horizon for July. So stay tuned. Making its way into stores this month is Ruins of Symborum Adventure Collection. Here's all the deets from Free League Publishing. With the Ruins of Symborum game line, the acclaimed setting of Symborum comes to the world's most popular role-playing game rules. This book presents 7 low to medium level adventures, perfect for introducing game masters and players to the game world, and the special rules created as an addition to the 5th edition open game license rule set. The Adventure Compendium contains 7 full-length adventures, ranging from level 1 to 8, the settlements Castor, Ravenna, and Prios Pass, 13 mystical artifacts, and a dozen color maps to explore, as well as an introduction to the pantheon of the young gods. A nation on the run, a homeland ravaged and barren. To stay in Albrerator, could mean certain death. Only fools and those who have vowed to die on their native soil would consider going back. Under these circumstances, the people are truly blessed to have an abundantly rich destination ahead. Ambria, the promised land of Queen Corinthia. You are but one of many who have traveled across these snow-clad passes of the Titans. You have set foot in your new homeland, but there is still much to learn. The journey takes you to Thistlehold, the town of explorers and treasure hunters, bordering the great forest of Davicor. From there, it continues out into the forest, brooding over ruins and powerful artifacts from the olden days of Symborum, and then back to face the escalating internal conflicts of the Queen's people and realm. The journey will undoubtedly transform you, make you regard the world and yourself with entirely new eyes, provided, of course, that you reach the end of the road with eyes to see, a life left to live, and a mind not consumed by darkness. The Ruins of Symborum Adventure Collection will carry an MSRP of $44.99 when it arrives later this month. So this actually is the Adventure Collection, I believe. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure this is the Adventure Collection from Symborum, ported over to Ruins of Symborum, because that's sort of what we have seen to this point. Now, there is another hardcover release for Ruins of Symborum that's arriving right about the same time this month, too. So there is going to be a double dose of Ruins of Symborum this month from Free League Publishing. Right, let's wrap up the news, because now available in print and PDF is Odious Uplands from the Hydra Cooperative. I've got the dope. So you survived Operation Unfathomable. The Odious Uplands await. You and your brave companions, fresh from their terrible sojourn into the underworld, emerge into the untamed wilds of Stone Spear Province, crushed for an aeon beneath towering glaciers until a sudden thaw, and bathed in the dim radiance and ineffable influence of the Chaos Aurora. A land home to all manner of unique megafauna, vicious saber-toothed apes, woolly Neanderthal rangers, scarcely describable entities staggering forth from the underworld, and of course, other adventurers seeking their fortunes. Odious Uplands is a 170-page wilderness setting designed for either standalone play or integration into Operation Unfathomable, both written by Jason Schultes and featuring illustrations by the author, with some help from a few talented friends. Completely Unfathomable is for use with Swords and Wizardry and other excellent role-playing games. Now, I'm not sure why they mentioned that, but I will mention Completely Unfathomable in a few moments. But Odious Uplands includes a wilderness region overflowing with opportunity for adventure. Fresh PCs can loot the buried Tower of Enlightenment, waylay underworld merchants, or join archaeological expeditions to the fossil forest, among heaps of options. As PCs advance, they might help thwart an underworld incursion, attempt to destroy a wanton godling, or seek the fabled Chaos Converter atop the majestic donut-shaped peak of Mount Impossible. There's Fort Enterprise, a fully detailed wilderness settlement whose high anti-monster walls provide reliable shelter from Macedonian behemoths and other local terrors. PCs embroiled within must instead contend with the worst monsters of them all, human beings. Jobs posted daily, free jolly flavorless lichen ale, helpful supernatural entities providing blessings, prophecies, and even custom tattoos for the righteous. Access to the underworld from points known and yet to be discovered. There's a host of unique monsters and treasures, personalities, encounters, mini dungeons, and other challenges. It's 170 pages jammed to excess with over 170 maps and illustrations. The aforementioned 170 pages is available in softcover, which includes the PDF, for $25 over at DriveThruRPG, or you can grab just the PDF alone for $15. I would be very honest and say, to me, you're getting a better deal with that softcover and PDF for 25 bucks, because then you're getting the softcover for $10. Of course, all depends on shipping as well. I have always heard really good things about Operation Unfathomable, and I have heard that it is kind of more of a gonzo fantasy setting. It is not your traditional old school Renaissance sort of fare, but I've heard it is really, really good. This builds upon it. And like I had mentioned, there was a sentence there talking about completely unfathomable. And I was sort of like, why are they tossing that in there? Because that's not this product. I guess now you can get Operation Unfathomable as well as Odious Uplands, which Odious Uplands just came out. But you can get them together as completely unfathomable. And they also have it statted for Dungeon Crawl Classics. So something to keep in mind as well. Got to be honest, I have never actually had an opportunity to check out anything from Hydra Cooperative. I would certainly like to. That is for sure. So we've got a few new people hanging out in chat. This is about 92 and Mr. Marmello are with us. Good to have you on board. So Kevin says they finally had gotten around to reading the original Symborum. Sounds like a really interesting setting, no matter what system you use. I completely agree. I certainly agree with you on that. So, very, very nice. So that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Of course, don't forget the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit DriveThruRPG, be sure to stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up to help keep thegaminggang.com around. Of course, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you feel thegaminggang.com is a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can also swing on over to paypal.me/gaminggang and making a small donation. And a big thank you to everybody out there who uses those banner ads and or visits paypal.me. It is certainly appreciated, and you really do help keep thegaminggang.com around. No joke. There's no joke there at all. All right, so that is the news for tonight. We are going to be jumping on in to take a look at Fantasy Hero Complete in just a couple of moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Over there.
Over where?
Over there.
Over here?
No, over there.
Over there.
The warehouse is in danger, the goodies we must save. All officers report at once, the situation's grave. Go get them, boys. What this thing? The culprits must be stopped. We'll make the scene with our siren, get a soda pop as pop. Aha! The guilty ones are trapped, we've not performed our mission. But the climax isn't kept until we have an intermission.
Clickety-clack, clickety-clack, look what's coming down the track. American Flyer all aboard. It's something nifty, something new. The tracks are all mounted and wired, too. The scenery's painted and fits just so. Now put on the train and away you go. To make a change, just shift them around. Snap them together, and in no time flat, you've got a brand new railroad.
Just like that.
American Flyer all aboard. All wired and mounted. The scenery's complete. Put the train on the track. It's really neat. The American Flyer all aboard. Complete with electric train, pre-wired tracks, transformer, all landscape, all ready to go. Years of fun for everyone with the American Flyer all aboard by Gilbert.
Oh, heck, my flying saucer's out of atomic fuel.
I'm even worse off. I'm out of Wilkins coffee. Breakfast. I'm hungry. Take it from Carinkles. That's me. The best breakfast under the big top is post-sugar rice Carinkles. So crinkly, so delicious, so different. Each grain of rice in sugar rice Carinkles is carinkled with honey and sugar. It's so good, I crinkle every time I eat it. Yep, no matter what other rice cereal you've ever tried, you'll love post-sugar rice Carinkles best of all. Honey and sugar make it different and wonderful. A circus of fun to eat. So you crinkle on down to the store for post-sugar rice Carinkles, the greatest cereal treat on earth.
I can see why people are freaked out by clowns. Hey, kids, run down to the grocery store and get some post-sugar rice crinkles, and then I'll murder you in your sleep. It's like, what? Sarah D is with us in chat. Yes. Sarah says that was probably the inspiration for it. Laura Adams has joined us as well in chat. Welcome, Laura. Yeah, wasn't that just the creepiest thing? I'm hungry. The way he walks over is like, yeah, you're a clown, all right. Sarah D says that she is not normally scared of clowns, but that one, yeah, that is. It's really funny because even looking back, if you see episodes of Howdy Doody and Clarabelle the Clown, Clarabelle looks creepy too. It's like, not as bad as that clown, though. Not as bad as that clown. All right, so today we are going to dive on into Fantasy Hero Complete from Hero Games. It's written by Michael Serbrook with the artwork provided by Sam Flegel. Or it might be Flegel, but I think it's Flegel. The 264-page softcover and PDF can be had from the Hero Games website for $20, or you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $10. Do want to point out the digital release has extra content like pre-generated characters, a starting adventure, character sheets, and more. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Fantasy Hero Complete. So a few things I do want to mention before we jump on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Hero Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy of Fantasy Hero Complete. But of course, neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's important that you know that. Also, we're not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you a good feel for what's in this book. And I'm curious about it as well. Because I got to be honest, I haven't seen anything Champions-wise. Now, I get it. Yes, it's not Champions, but it is based on the Hero system, the 6th edition. I haven't seen Champions since first edition. So it's been a long, long time. So let's take a look at the back here. Fantasy your way. Unsheath your glowing swords, loose your mighty spells, and ride into glory with Fantasy Hero Complete. All the legendary flexibility and power of the renowned hero system, rules plus spells, monsters, and magic items, in addition to all the skills, powers, and complications needed to complete epic quests, delve the deepest dungeons, and thwart the devious machinations of evil gods. Fantasy Hero Complete includes everything fantasy gamers need to play. New heroes will love the unmatched freedom of Fantasy Hero to create and play exactly the hero they imagine. Longtime fans will appreciate the tight, concise new approach, presenting the full game system in a convenient format. So grab your battle axe, don your elven mail, and prepare to battle evil with Fantasy Hero Complete. Kevin says it feels like it's been about 10 years since the last edition of Champions, but they don't necessarily follow hero games real closely. Was it maybe 2009, 2014, somewhere around there, maybe? For some reason, those years are jumping in my head. I don't know. Like I said, I share news from hero games every once in a while, but because of the open game license fiasco, they reached out to ask me if I wanted to take a peek at this. So I am going to mention some things that I have also heard through the grapevine, because you know me, I'm not here to bullshit anybody. So I have heard some things. We will talk about it as we take a peek through. So first of all, let's jump on in. So yes, this is for Fantasy, this is 6th edition. So I guess Stephen S. Long was did a lot of the hero system and champions and things like that. So, all right, let's jump on in. Beyond the fields we know lies a fantastical world. It is populated by barbarians with mighty thews, seductive sorceresses, and wise wizards. Enigmatic elves, doughty dwarves, and grinning goblins dwell there as well, as do fire-breathing dragons, enchanted swords, magic rings, and glittering mounds of treasure. Yes, bring me the treasure. There are also ancient ruins, towering castles, dank dungeons, deserted moors, tangled forests, vast deserts, and distant lands full of unknown wonders. There are heroes there, and villains too, not to mention old kings, evil viziers, beautiful princesses, and cackling witches. Noble knights, sly rogues, and a whole host of other personalities, all waiting for their moment to play their parts on the stages of our imagination. That's pretty cool. I like that. Fairly well written, fairly well presented. Okay, so one of the first things that I've heard is that this makes for a fantastic reference for people who are familiar with the system, but not necessarily for those who are not familiar with the hero system. I have seen this mentioned all over the web. So I do want to point that out. And that's not necessarily a knock on this book as we take a peek through, but it is something to keep in mind. Just like, as much as I really dig Old School Essentials, I don't think Old School Essentials is, I don't think it would be the book that I would recommend to somebody picking up an OSR role-playing game for the first time, because the rules are all presented and they're streamlined and easy to understand, but there's nothing else talking about, okay, so how do you play this game? It's like, hey, there's no, and I joke all the time, the whole, what is a role-playing game section of a book. And I always joke that if I ever wrote a role playing game, then that section would say, "What is a role playing game? The book you have in your hands." Be it. That would be the whole section. But there are still people out there who need to understand, what is this game? How do these mechanics work together? And that's one of the reasons why I would not necessarily recommend old school essentials for first timers. So, Raven Glenn Homestead is with us. I believe this is a first time visit. So, welcome aboard. Says, awesome. About time somebody talked about Fantasy Hero. I have all the editions from 1 to 5. If you get a game going, I would really like to join. I like the system. I actually prefer this system. I've always thought well of the hero system back in first edition for Champions. Before it was even known as the hero system, it was just Champions. So Raven points out that it is point-based and works very well. So we get a breakdown of, we've got characteristics. Let's see. So we have character points. Now, I remember the character points because depending on the sort of game you're looking for, you're going to possibly boost the number of character points that your players are going to be able to use to buy their attributes as well as their skills and spells and things like that. Well, okay, the spells are my assumption. I'm just going way back decades to the last time I took a peek at Champions. So we've got our characteristics here. And we have strength. So we've got a strength table here. I do understand that this is, there you go. Kevin's pointing this out. Just as I started to say this, I noticed Kevin shared this in chat. So Kevin says, they've always heard this is like GURPS, but way more complicated. And I was going to say, I had always heard that this is very possibly the most complex of all fantasy role-playing games, including GURPS. And of course, GURPS is generic, but the hero system can be used generically as well. So we had strength, we got dexterity, constitution, intelligence, ego. So that's our replacement for charisma. This character's willpower and general strength of mind. So I guess mine is a 0. It also points out what happens if you're at 0. We also have presence. Oh, sorry. Presence is actually our charisma, force of personality, and bravery. So I guess ego is more along the lines of wisdom. I guess that's a replacement if we're looking at our standard. So we have our offensive combat value, defensive combat value, offensive mental combat value, as well as the defensive mental combat value, speed, physical defense, energy defense, recovery. Got a lot cooking here. Endurance. So this is all character creation we're taking a look at. Of course, then we have skills. Acrobatics, acting, animal handler, break fall, cryptography, forgery. So Kevin says they've also heard that Fantasy Hero doesn't model fantasy as well as Champions models the superhero genre. I guess in some ways that would be understandable, seeing that the hero system, was built upon a superhero role-playing game. So this is what I've heard from folks. And we have Raven with us. And Raven is very familiar with the hero system. So we're going to pick Raven's brain just a little bit. But the other thing that I've heard is that this book kind of just has everything like in it. It's missing some stuff. I guess it's like supposed to be like super obvious. How did you forget to put this in here? Like weapon damage and protection that armor provides, those kind of things. So what I have heard is that if you are going to run Fantasy Hero, your best bet, and once again, I'm not trying to knock this book. This is just what I keep encountering. I just want to be very upfront with everybody watching this. I've been told that your best bet is to pick up the 2 volumes for 6th edition Hero System. I'm taking a guess, maybe it's like a player's book as well as a game master's book. And then there is a fantasy hero book that was written by, I think it's Stephen Long, which is almost 500 pages. So I have been told that that is what you should do. And that's what most people who play and run Fantasy Hero have done. That this makes for a great reference work. But as far as like learning the game and things like that, not as strong. So we are 81 pages in, and we are still in character creation. So anyway, Raven, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's how you have played, but that's what I have been told. So Mr. Marmello has used a super chat. Thank you very much, from New Zealand. Not sure what Mr. Marmello is trying to get across. Way too many emojis. Okay, so Raven says Hero 6th edition did away with elemental control power framework. That's why they stuck with the 5th edition. So here we've got, so these are powers. I think these are powers here. Multiform, power defense, reflection, regeneration. So kind of interesting that we have this in character creation, because like fantasy heroes, are they going to regenerate? Right? Are they going to have stretching abilities? So that's I don't know. Kind of odd that these are kept in here. Telekinesis, okay, yeah, if you wanted psionics. That's kind of funny. Stretching, and then in regeneration and swimming. It's like, yeah, which one of these doesn't seem to fit? So we've got our power modifiers. So 111 pages still in character creation. Well, I will admit, this is jam-packed. This is certainly not a book that has like a ton of artwork taking up space. So we've got a lot of content in here. Oh, there's some art. Cool. So, wow, 140 pages still in character creation. Yeah, I think Kevin might be correct here, and what I had heard in the past might be correct, that this very possibly could be the most complex of all fantasy role-playing games. So we have our complications. So characters have weaknesses as well as strengths. Both are necessary to create an interesting, well-rounded hero. In Fantasy Hero, these personal challenges are represented with complications. Okay, so now we get characters and the world. So something else I had heard about this particular book is that there isn't a ton of fantasy elements in it that the great amount of page space is devoted to character creation as well as using the rules. So this looks like we've got our breakdown of how to use the game mechanics. So we have full moves, half moves, combat, non-combat. I got to be honest, I don't remember how action resolution takes place. I got to be honest, I don't seem to recall there being a D20. Once again, it's been decades since I had the original champions. So Raven asks, is this 6th edition Fantasy Hero? It is supposed to be. It is supposed to be 6th edition Fantasy Hero. It's complete. So it's essentially Fantasy Hero complete. Although I do believe that they still have what's known as Fantasy Hero 6E. And I believe that is the book that people have pointed out. That's the fantasy book you really want to pick up if you want to use the hero system for fantasy, because it's like almost 500 pages. I think it's 496, 498, something along those lines. So we've got our combat maneuvering. So this is all these are all mechanics. So this is all how to play the game. So it looks like combat, we've got a good amount of combat here. I want to see. So, okay, so we've got all these different combat maneuvers. All right, attack rolls and combat values. That's what I'm looking at. So it says the basic attack roll. Whether an attack hits a target is determined by an attack roll. All attack rolls are success rolls. Page 10. Ooh, maybe we'll take a look at page 10. So, yep, going all the way back. Success rolls. Success rolls call for you to roll 3d6. There you go. I was going to say, I didn't remember it being a d20. And the lower you roll, the better. You use success rolls to determine whether or not a character accomplishes a task successfully, such as whether your firebolt spell hits an enemy orc, or whether your lock-picking skill lets you pick the lock on a treasure chest. So success rolls, including characteristic rolls, perception rolls, and skill rolls, require a result equal to or less than some number in order to succeed. Okay, there we go. Then we've got all these various different modifiers, which I would take a guess are applied to your challenge number, the number that you need to roll equal to or less than. That would be my guess. So Kevin says, yep, I'm pretty sure it's 6E. Yes, this is 6E. Because as far as I understand, there is not a 7th edition of the hero system, at least as of yet. So Raven says 5th edition Fantasy Hero books that they have: Fantasy Hero Companion, and Companion 2, and the Fantasy Hero Bestiary. Okay, so we are getting into, all right, so sword and sorcery, swords, plural, I should say, and sorcery fantasy role playing. So we get to this point, it's 195 pages in. So this is going to be a breakdown of magic and monsters, creating fantasy characters, goals and motivations, our racial templates. But I always talk about like Pathfinder 2nd Edition and how you've got all these options as far as your character creation. That's to me one of the big selling points for Pathfinder 2nd Edition is how unique you can make your characters. And I gotta say, this looks like you've got way more options with Fantasy Hero. So Kevin says the 3d6 roll under is why it's often compared to GURPS. It's been a long time since I have looked at anything for GURPS. You know, there's reasons. But the funny thing is, I used to pick up GURPS stuff all the time with absolutely no interest in running it. But their books were just so well done. Like, I'm a huge fan of George R.R. Martin's Wild Cards. That's how I knew George R.R. Martin long before A Song of Ice and Fire ever came out. Because Elliot and I and some of our other friends, I turned them on to the Wild Cards books. And the GURPS Wild Cards book was really, really well done. So we have some example characters. It's the Catfolk Martial Artist, Dragonfolk Wizard, the Elf Ranger. So this would be your character sheet. So, as an example here, the Elf Ranger would have a Strength 13, Dex 17, Con 15, Intelligence 13, Ego 13, and Presence 15. Then these are like the modifiers for offense, defense, mental, offense, defense, speed. So we've got powers, Elvish Swiftness, Elvish Eyes, a couple of powers there, and Elvish Longevity, 1,600 years. Holy cow. Talents, Environmental Movement, Thicket Master, which is where they actually go and pick up their concert ticks. Light Sleep, Trackless Stride. So those are talents. Skills, +1 hand-to-hand combat, +2, I think, offensive combat value. I think that's what it was with a bow. Animal Handler, Breakfall, Climbing, Stealth, Wood Elf, Survival, Tracking. Cool. Glenn says half their fun in this role-playing game is character creation. A lot of folks really get into character creation. I don't get to play often enough to really, I should say, I don't get to be a player often enough in other people's games to actually be able to know if there's any enjoyment creating characters. I'm just going to go cry in the corner here. Yes, I am the forever GM. Got the Human Paladin. I will say, as we get some art here, that this book really has kind of a late 80s vibe to it. Look at what Nebula is with us in chat. Good to see you. Welcome, LN. All right, so we've got average people. Got some magic items. Bottled giant strength. This could be pretty cool. So Mr. Marmello says, can we get 2 minutes in the reading corner? Gnome Facts Live? I have no idea what you mean by that. Like, I honestly do not know what the Gnome Facts Live would be. But hey, thank you for another super chat. That's much appreciated. Okay, so playing other genres. So it's, of course, using the hero system, you can play action adventure, pulp, superheroes, obviously enough, horror, post-apocalyptic, Victorian, swashbuckling. Kind of weird that they would toss this in here to the fantasy book. You would think that this would go into like the, generic, like the player's book and the game master's book. So we've got some summaries here. But I will tell you one thing that I did not see, and I'm not seeing it here, and that is the weapon damage and like armor protection. So I guess that was correct. I heard that it wasn't in here, that it had been, it was supposed to be in here and it was forgotten. It was left out. It looks like that is the case. Of course, with the PDF, I would take a guess that it's there. So, Sir Marmello says, being a GM, it's hard on the mind. I like it. I enjoy being the game master. It's just, it would just be nice to once in a while get to actually play as a player, as opposed to always being the game master. And it doesn't matter. Call of Cthulhu, Traveler, my own little homebrew fantasy game. I always have to be the guy running stuff. All right, so just kind of flipping back through here. This looks really interesting, but it does also look very complex. And this looks like it's presented very matter-of-factly. So I'm going to take a guess. What I had been seeing online is probably pretty true, that this makes for an excellent reference document, but maybe not the best book to be using to learn the hero system as well as Fantasy Hero. So, all right, there you have it. I will have a review of Fantasy Hero Complete in the very near future. Once again, the softcover with PDF is available at the Hero Games website for $20. And you can grab just the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $10. And I do believe the PDFs include extra content like pre-generated characters. There's a beginning adventure, character sheets, and more. All right. So there you have it. So Kathy says that they have 2 people who learned to run a game, then they take turns being player and GM. That's how it used to be way back in the day. Like when kids were first experiencing Dungeons and Dragons, they would all learn the game, and then they would tend to take turns running stuff. And back when I was in high school, we had other people who ran games. So I did get to be a player on occasion, like in Top Secret and Behind Enemy Lines and the FASA Star Trek game. So, I got to play Stormbringer. That was another one. But for the most part, I usually was game mastering. So out of, like, say, 5 games, in fact, you know what? Let's make that out of 10 games, I would be running the game 9 out of 10 times. So, and it's all right. It was all right. Just wish I'd get an opportunity to play once in a while. That's why I'm looking forward to GaryCon, because even though I'm probably going to come across as a dumbass in any game that I play, I'm actually going to get to play stuff. And it has been a long time since my best friend Elliot Miller and I played in a game as players and somebody else was game mastering. We're probably going back to the 90s, late 80s since that's happened. So pretty wild. Simeon has joined us just as we're wrapping up. Raven pointed out the system started with espionage and later Danger International. Sweet. So, Mr. Marmello wanted to know what were the gnome stats and facts from this book. All right, let's take a look. Take a look at the index. Let's see if we can find a gnome. And if I can, they are not in here. Or at least not in the index. There's Goblin Rogue, Giant Spider, Griffin. Everything else is mechanics, or like glowing sword, grab by, ground fighting. No gnomes. I don't see halflings. All right, so I know this is so exciting, right? Let's do this. Because you've shared a couple of super chats. Which once again, thank you very much. Let's see. Let's go back to where we had those examples. And let's see if we have an example for a gnome, but I don't think we're going to. All right, so there's Catfolk, Dragonfolk Wizard. So please, 2 minutes of gnome stats from that manual. I'm looking. It does not look like we've got it. Elf Ranger, Goblin Rogue, Human Paladin, Orc Warrior. And then we've got monsters. So, Carrion Worm, Deadly Ooze, Dragon, Fomorian, Giant Spider, Griffin, Harpy, Kappa, Riding Bird, Tikbalang. Mr. Marmello says, look harder. I can't create it if it's not here. Yeah, it's not. We don't have no dwarves. I mean, you can be a dwarf, obviously enough. There's no example of a dwarf character. Kevin says maybe gnomes are monsters like D&D 4E. I don't think. Let's see what we've got. So here we've got the racial templates. Animal folk, centaurs, dwarves, elves, fairy, giant, goblin. Guess they're not here at all. There's halflings, although the halfling wasn't in the index. Human, reptile folk, winged folk, mixed and foster parentage. And then we have some ancestral and environmental templates. So sorry to say, there is not a pre-constructed gnome in here. Simeon says, just divide all human stats by 4. That's right. Your intelligence is 25% of a human because you're a gnome. All right, cat folk. All right, real quick. Let's go by what the cat folk. Let's go find that cat folk. Wasn't it a cat folk gnome? Or no, the cat folk rogue. Let's see, here we go. Oh no, sorry. It was a cat folk martial artist. So we have a strength of 15, 18 dex, 14 constitution, 13 intelligence, 12 ego, 15 presence. We've got our offense and defense modifiers there. So the powers: demonstration of skill, battlefield agility, claws, pounce, cheetah's swiftness, cat eyes, which night vision, cat-like senses, so +1 perception with smell and taste group, tail, which is an extra limb. So martial arts, hand-to-hand combat, block, disarm, dodge, knife, hand strike, punch, snap kick, side spin kick. Then we've got perks: warrior's renown, so it's a positive reputation that they are a skilled warrior. So their skills: +2 with hand-to-hand combat, acrobatics 13 and under, analyze fighting style 13 and under, break fall 13 and under, climbing 13 and less. Then we got defensive maneuvers 1 to 4. The martial artist world, I guess this is probably like knowledge of something. Martial arts techniques: sleight of hand, stealth. So distinctive features: strange and unusual barehanded fighting style, psychological complication, code of honor. Psychological complication: seeks to improve and or prove skill versus worthy opponents. And rivalry: professional with other barehanded fighters, martial artists, seeks to outdo rivals. And then we get their gear. Raven says you can create gnomes rather easy in Champions, which I would think means you can create them pretty easily in Fantasy Hero as well. So you've got that. All righty. So that is it for this time out. Got a lot of stuff cooking for the rest of the week and into the weekends. Don't forget, I will be sharing this month's edition of Why You Should Play Index Card Role-Playing Game. So this is what is being featured this month. I'll talk about why I think this is a lot of fun and why you should play it. Easy enough, right? So got some reviews on the horizon as well. So next Monday, we are going to do a double dip. We're going to be taking a look at the BX Advanced Bestiary Volume 1, which was sent along from Third Kingdom Games. We were looking at the populated hexes monthly. So we were just taking a peek at that. So we're going to take a look at that, and then also filling in the blanks, which is from Third Kingdom Games 2. So we're going to look at both of these on Monday's show. And then probably on Wednesday, we're going to look at the Grizzled. We'll take a look at the Armistice edition of the Grizzled. First Tuesday, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what pops up. See what arrives. So, got a lot of fun on the horizon. All right. So, if you like this video, by all means, please leave a thumbs up. And if you want to help spread the word about the Gaming Gang channel, always try to leave a comment. Even if it's just a quick sentence or two. Leaving comments really does help other people see these videos because it's showing YouTube engagement. So keep that in mind. But of course, like I said, if you like the video, by all means, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ding the bell. It will not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube. Also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my recent review of Pathfinder, the Seventh Arch, the first chapter in the new Gatewalker's Adventure Path from Paizo Inc. Yes. Everybody enjoy the rest of the week and the weekend. If you were watching live, thank you very much for taking part And of course, if you were watching live and took part in chat, a big tip of the cap, because not only were you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company too. So I appreciate that quite a lot. So Roger is pointing out that it's going to be very chilly up there in Montreal. I was going to say, hopefully, I know there are a lot of people out there experiencing really bad weather all over the world, not just here in the U.S. So hopefully, stay warm, stay safe. You don't have to go outside in nasty weather. Don't do it. So I want to make sure all of you are back here on Monday, giving me a hard time in chat. So thank you very kindly. Of course, anyway, I was going to say, for those of you who can't watch live, I know there's a ton of you out there who don't have an opportunity to catch the stream live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of these videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. I'll be back on Monday. And, of course, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it happens to be while you're watching this. And, of course, here's hoping you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.